1. Lost at sea, Bison Dele. Bison Dele wasn't your typical NBA player. Standing 6 feet 10 inches, he was a solid center who helped the Chicago Bulls win the 1997 championship. But unlike most players chasing bigger contracts and brighter spotlights, Dele walked away from millions at age 30. Why? He wanted peace, adventure, a life without the noise of fame. He bought a catamaran named Hakuna Matata and began sailing the South Pacific with his girlfriend Serena Carlin. In July 2002, Dele set sail from Tahiti with Serena, his brother Miles DeBoard, and boat captain Bertrand Saldo. They were never seen alive again. Weeks later, the catamaran was found, stripped of identification with suspicious repairs and no sign of its crew. Investigators soon learned only Miles had made it back to land. He told conflicting stories that Bison and Serena were missing after an argument, but evidence pointed to something far worse. Authorities believe Miles killed all three, threw their bodies overboard, and tried to escape to the US using Bison's identity. Before he could be tried, Miles overdosed in Mexico and died. To this day, no bodies have been found. No one knows exactly what happened in those final moments at sea. One of the NBA's most mysterious disappearances remains unsolved, forever lost to the waves. Second Malice at the Palace. November 19, 2004, Detroit Pistons vs. Indiana Pacers. It's the most infamous game in NBA history. The Pacers had been building bad blood with the defending champs. Late in the fourth, with the Pacers up big, Ron Artest fouled Ben Wallace hard on a layup. Wallace shoved him back, triggering a heated confrontation between players. Coaches separated them, but tension still lingered. Artest, trying to cool off, laid down on the scorer's table. That's when it happened. A fan hurled a full cup of soda, hitting Artest in the chest. In an instant, Artest leapt into the stands, swinging. Stephen Jackson followed. Fans fought back, chairs were thrown, players and spectators traded punches in scenes more fitting for a street fight than an NBA arena. The aftermath was devastating. 9 players suspended for a total of 146 games. Artest lost the rest of the season. Stephen Jackson and Jermaine O'Neal received heavy bans. The league's image took a major hit, sparking new security rules and a zero-tolerance policy on player-fan altercations. It was more than just a fight. It was the night the NBA's worst fears came true. The boundary between court and crowd completely collapsed. 3. Kobe Bryant's passing. January 26, 2020, started like any other day. Until the news broke. A helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others had crashed in Calabasas, California. There were no survivors. For fans, it felt impossible. Kobe was more than a retired superstar. He was a cultural icon, a symbol of relentless work ethic. The Mamba mentality wasn't just about basketball, it was about life. Kobe's career had been a story in itself. 5-time champion, 18-time All-Star, 2-time Finals MVP, and one of the most skilled scorers in history. After retirement, he was excelling in storytelling, winning an Oscar for his short film, Dear Basketball. Most importantly, he was embracing fatherhood, especially coaching Gianna's basketball dreams. The crash shook the sports world. Arenas held moments of silence. Fans gathered outside Staples Center, lighting candles and leaving jerseys. Players wept on the court. The loss wasn't just about basketball. It was about losing someone who had become part of our lives. 4. Len Bias. The superstar who never played it was June 17, 1986. The Boston Celtics had just won their 16th championship and were set to draft a young phenom to carry them into the future. That phenom was Len Bias, a 6'8" forward out of Maryland with athleticism, shooting, and confidence that had scouts calling him the next Michael Jordan. 2 days after the draft, Bias was celebrating with friends. That night, he tried cocaine for the first time. The next morning, he collapsed from a cardiac arrhythmia. At just 22 years old, Len Bias was gone before he ever stepped on an NBA court. The news sent shockwaves across America. It wasn't just the Celtics who lost a star. The nation lost a future legend. His death triggered sweeping anti-drug laws, some of which remain controversial for how they disproportionately targeted communities of color. Len Bias became a cautionary tale, his potential frozen forever in What If? 5. Lorenzan Wright, a murder mystery. Lorenzan Wright was a beloved big man in the NBA, known for his hustle and smile. But in July 2010, he vanished. Days later, his decomposed body was found in a remote Memphis field, riddled with bullet wounds. For years, the case went cold. The only clue? A chilling 911 call made from Wright's phone, with gunshots heard in the background before the line went dead. It took nearly a decade for the truth to come out. In 2017, Wright's ex-wife, Shara Wright, was arrested and charged with orchestrating his murder alongside her church deacon lover. The motive? Life insurance money. She later pled guilty. Lorenzan's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a betrayal by the very person he once trusted most. The city of Memphis still mourns him, both as a player and as a man whose life was stolen in cold blood. 6. Reggie Lewis. The collapse of a star. Reggie Lewis was the Celtics captain in the early 90s, carrying the team after Larry Bird's retirement. He was an all-star, a humble leader, and just 27 years old when he collapsed during a playoff game in 1993. Doctors discovered he had a serious heart condition, but Lewis refused to give up. He sought a second opinion, hoping to find a way back. Just months later, while practicing alone at Brandeis University, he collapsed again, this time for good. The Celtics had lost two franchise players, Bias and Lewis, within 7 years. Two men who were supposed to lead Boston into a new era were gone far too soon, leaving fans with only memories of what might have been. 7. Drajan Petrovvic, the Mozart of basketball. Drajan Petrovvic wasn't just a shooter. He was an artist. Known as the Mozart of basketball, the Croatian guard dazzled in Europe before joining the NBA, where he became a star for the New Jersey Nets. In June 1993, Petrovvic skipped the team's flight home and instead traveled with his girlfriend through Germany. On a rainy night, their car collided with a truck on the Autobahn. Drajan, asleep in the passenger seat, died instantly at just 28. He was one of the first European players to dominate in the NBA, inspiring generations of international stars. Today, his legacy lives on through the Drajan Petrovvic Basketball Hall in Zagreb, but his career, like his life, ended far too soon. 8. 1960 Lakers plane crash scare. Before the NBA had private jets and chartered flights, teams often flew commercial, even through dangerous weather. In January 1960, the Minneapolis Lakers were flying home from a road trip when their DC-3 aircraft lost power mid-flight in a snowstorm. The plane crash-landed in an Iowa cornfield. Miraculously, everyone survived, but the team was stranded in freezing temperatures until rescuers arrived. It's a story most fans have forgotten, but for the players who lived it, that night was a reminder that sometimes the greatest victory is simply surviving. 9. James Jordan, a father's tragic end. James Jordan wasn't just Michael Jordan's father, he was his best friend, biggest supporter, and a constant presence at games. In July 1993, James was driving home from a funeral when he pulled over to rest. Two teenagers attempted to rob him and fatally shot him. They stole his car, dumped his body in a swamp, and were later caught and convicted. Michael was devastated. Just months later, he announced his first retirement from basketball, citing the emotional toll of losing his father. For MJ, every championship, every success afterward carried the memory of the man who taught him the game. 10. Donald Sterling scandal. In 2014, leaked audio revealed Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling making racist remarks to his girlfriend, telling her not to bring black people to games. The recording shocked the league. Players threatened to boycott. The NBA acted quickly. Commissioner Adam Silver banned Sterling for life and forced him to sell the team. It was a moment that showed the league's zero tolerance for overt racism, but also exposed how such views had been tolerated for years behind closed doors. 11th, COVID-19 Shutdown March. 11th, 2020. Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz tests positive for COVID-19. Within hours, the NBA suspends its season indefinitely. Fans left arenas confused, players were quarantined, the world was about to change, and the NBA was one of the first major leagues to fully shut down. It wouldn't return until months later, inside the now famous Orlando bubble. 12th, Paul George's leg injury. August 1st, 2014. Team USA scrimmage. Paul George chases down James Harden on a fast break, leaps to block the shot, and lands awkwardly. His right leg snaps, bone protruding, in one of the most gruesome injuries ever broadcast live. The injury sidelined George for nearly a year, but his comeback would be one of the most inspiring in NBA history. 13. The Punch. Kermit Washington versus Rudy Tomjanovich, December 9th, 1977. A fight breaks out between the Lakers and Rockets. As Rudy Tomjanovich runs in to break it up, Kermit Washington turns and delivers a full-force punch to Rudy's face. The impact fractured Rudy's skull, broke his jaw, and left him leaking spinal fluid. Doctors said if he'd been hit slightly harder, he would have died instantly. Rudy eventually recovered, but the incident forever changed how the league policed on-court violence. 14. Dante West. From NBA player to homelessness. Dante West was once a starting guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers alongside LeBron James. But after his career ended, mental health struggles and financial troubles sent him into a downward spiral. Photos of West panhandling on the streets shocked fans, leading to calls for help. Multiple former players, including Mark Cuban, have stepped in to get him treatment. His story is a reminder that life after the NBA can be brutal without the right support system. 15. Referee scandal. Tim Donaghy. In 2007, NBA referee Tim Donaghy was caught betting on games he officiated, even influencing calls to affect point spreads. He served prison time, but his case left a permanent stain on the league's credibility, fueling conspiracy theories that still persist today about rigged games. 16. Chris Washburn, the wasted talent. Chris Washburn was a 6'11" powerhouse and the third overall pick in the 1986 NBA draft. Scouts raved about his size, agility, and potential to dominate the paint for years to come. But from the very start, his career was overshadowed by poor work ethic and personal struggles. Behind the scenes, Washburn was battling a crippling drug addiction. In just 3 seasons, he failed multiple league drug tests, violating the NBA's strict anti-drug policy. By 1991, he was banned for life. Instead of becoming an all-star, he became a cautionary tale, a reminder that talent alone can't save you if you can't conquer your demons. 17th, Shawn Livingston's injury. February 26, 2007. It was supposed to be an ordinary game for the young and promising Clippers guard Shawn Livingston. Driving to the hoop on a fast break, he went up for a routine layup, but when he landed, his left knee buckled violently inward. The injury was catastrophic. Torn ACL, PCL, and MCL, dislocated kneecap, and damaged cartilage. An injury so gruesome, the TV broadcast stopped showing replays. Doctors doubted he'd ever walk normally again, let alone play basketball. But Livingston refused to give up. Years of rehab and setbacks followed, yet he fought his way back. Against all odds, he returned to the NBA, and later became a key piece of the Golden State Warriors dynasty, winning 3 championships. 18. Magic Johnson's HIV announcement, November 7, 1991, the world stopped. Magic Johnson, one of the most beloved and dominant players in NBA history, announced he had contracted HIV. At the time, the disease was widely misunderstood and often seen as an immediate death sentence. Instead of hiding, Magic chose to go public, becoming a face of HIV awareness. He educated the world, challenged stereotypes, and showed that with treatment, you could still live and thrive. More than 3 decades later, Magic is still here, still smiling, and still inspiring millions. 19. Gilbert Arenas locker room gun incident. In 2009, what started as a card game dispute between Gilbert Arenas and teammate Javaris Crittenton turned into one of the strangest scandals in NBA history. The two brought guns into the Wizards' locker room, a shocking breach of league rules and basic safety. The incident went public fast, and the NBA responded with heavy suspensions. Arenas' once brilliant career as a 3-time All-Star point guard was effectively over, serving as a bizarre and cautionary story about ego, conflict, and poor decisions. 20. Derrick Rose's injuries. In 2011, Derrick Rose was on top of the basketball world, the youngest MVP in NBA history, electrifying crowds with his explosive drives and fearless finishes. Chicago believed he was the key to bringing a championship back to the Bulls, but in the 2012 playoffs, disaster struck. Rose tore his ACL, beginning a chain of devastating injuries, meniscus tears, ankle problems, and countless setbacks. Each time he fought back, another injury pulled him away. Though he reinvented himself as a veteran scorer and playmaker, fans can't help but wonder, if Rose had stayed healthy, could he have been one of the greatest point guards ever? His story remains one of the NBA's most heartbreaking what-ifs. 21st, O.J. Mayo's drug ban. O.J. Mayo entered the league in 2008 as a scoring sensation, drafted 3rd overall and averaging over 18 points per game as a rookie. But behind the scenes, he struggled with discipline and maturity. In 2016, Mayo was hit with a shocking 2-year ban for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy, one of the most severe punishments the league can give. Eligible to return in 2018, he never made it back. Instead of a long career, his legacy became a cautionary tale. In the NBA, talent might get you in the door, but professionalism is what keeps you there.